Good evening, Chair Greenstein, Vice Chair Roy, trustees, Superintendent President Jeffrey, and Santa Monica Community College staff, members, and community. I wanted to take a couple of minutes this evening, given that we do have two new trustees who have been seated, to just give a little bit of a historical perspective of a few things that are really pressing right now, given all the conversations around the college's budget. Hopefully, Trustee Anastasia Foster can get a chance to listen to some of these things. One of the things I first wanted to point out was that I've been in about 3 or 4 meetings in the past month where I've seen this slide, and it's inaccurately labeled, and I think actually gives an incredibly deceptive view of what's happened on the staffing numbers. Right, so it's titled "An Increase in Full-Time Equivalent Employees," which generally counts part-time employees. They calculate what the number of equivalent full-time employees would be. This graph does not show in any way, shape, or form how many part-time faculty members were employed back in 2020 or all the way through to 2024. It implies, as presented, that every group on this campus has had increases in employees, while the lead into this was saying that our student numbers have decreased. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that these numbers are very inaccurate. That slide was introduced by information that's important, is that our student numbers over the past, this is about 15 years, has declined. We had COVID, we had other issues, and so these numbers coming from college data does indeed show the decline in numbers of students that we've been serving over the past few years. If you look at the actual numbers of full-time and part-time faculty during those same periods of time, right, there is a correlation. It's not exact, but there's definitely a correlation between the numbers of faculty members employed at the college and the decreasing numbers of students who are taking classes here. Our part-time colleagues, we've lost about 200 of them, and again, I always say we didn't lose them. They were not rehired. They're no longer working for the college. From a high in 2017 of nearly 1,100 part-time faculty members, we're in this semester down to about 800 part-time faculty members. There are different numbers for fall, different numbers for spring, but we are down in the 800s. For comparison, field management positions over the same period of time has no correlation to what's happening with our student numbers. And no, I have no idea what happened in 2017, right? When you look at that year of 2017, there was something that happened. However, it seems sort of an outrageous jump that happened there. We're up over that number now, right? We currently have more classified academic and project managers, program managers than we did have back in that 2017 date. Another thing I wanted to point out, as trustees, you know better than I do that one of the most important things you do is you set priorities, and then from those priorities, the budget is set. There are 2 important points in time when you approve budgets. There's the tentative budget in June, and then the adopted budget in September. Those 2 points in time set the roadmap for what the college can do for students over the next year. Another point in time where there's a check that's done is once the fiscal year ends and we have the actual expenditures and revenue report that comes in that says how well did we predict what was going to happen. These 2 points in time, the tentative budget in June and the adopted budget in September, are crucial, as I say, in setting what's going to happen next. So for example, in June, if the tentative budget is looking grim, then we offer less classes. We cancel more classes, we offer less counseling hours, we decide not to hire full-time faculty. Those decisions get made based upon frequently the tentative budget, which then is adjusted as we hear. Again, it's completely reasonable. We don't know what the budget's going to look like from the state. We don't find out until June, if we're lucky, what the state budget's going to look like. So it makes sense that there are changes, but I just want to point out that when you look back over the past 15 years, the changes that happened, this graph shows, from June to September the difference between what is the tentative budget, which is helping us plan for the fall as far as the offerings for students, and the actual adopted budget in September. The average difference between that tentative budget and the adopted budget is nearly $4 million. Those $4 million are classes, counseling hours, extra hours for overtime, for financial aid folks, right? There's a variety of places where those dollars could have been allotted that directly and immediately affect students. Well, that's just between the sort of rough tentative budget and the adopted budget. How does the adopted budget do compared to the actual ending fund balances? Over that same period of time, when you pull out what the adopted budget was and compare it to the ending numbers of the budget, and you look at what happened to the balance that we had, how well did we do thinking about our expenses and our revenues, you find that again, we have this time over $4 million a year that we're in the positive given our adopted budget and what the books show at the end of the year. Every one of those dollars is a class, a counseling hour, jobs for part-time faculty members, an extra full-time faculty member that's hired, an extra classified member, another manager in another area. So this, again, is a trend that people should be aware of when you're hearing about budgets, that overall, from one year to another, there may be a difference. But when you look in the long run, this is what happens with our budget. Again, this is just what I said. Nearly $4 million from tentative to adopted, $4.5 million from adopted to the ending actual closing numbers. Over $8 million there. Let me think about college expenditures, where again, budget is on everybody's mind, understandably. We know that over time, the college expenditures do go up, and over time, our revenues go up. There are some years where things are out of whack, some years they're one way, some years they're another, but over time, over the past 5 years, our expenditures have gone up by 4.7%. Over the past 10 years, on average, this is every year, on average, over 10 years, 4.65%. Over 15 years, about 3.47%. So there is generally an increase in the budget, an increase in our expenditures under that budget. Well, what's driving these increases? We're thinking about trying to balance the books. How do we do that? Is it the faculty? Are the faculty driving those expenditures? When you look over those same periods of time, on average, over the past 5 years, the increase in expenditures, and this at the moment is just salaries and retirement benefits. I've not added in medical benefits, but retirement benefits and salaries. For faculty members, it's 4.07% over the past 5 years, compared to what the college is doing on average for all expenditures of 4.7. It's less. When you look over the past 10 years, every year for faculty, it's been an increase of about 4.3%. Again, less than what the college is doing as a whole. 15 years, 3.12%. Again, less than the college's overall increase in expenditures. Faculty costs of salary and retirement benefits are not driving this college's expenditure/revenue imbalance, right? You cannot blame faculty members for that imbalance. And in fact, when you really think about what this is saying, is that something else, there are other expenditures that have higher rates than what the college is doing on average, because faculty are under the average, somebody else is over. Something else is over. Just a snapshot, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years on average. Faculty members are the blue bar, always less than yellow, which is the college's overall expenditure, increases from year to year. Over 10 years, blue is less than yellow. 15 years, blue is less than yellow. There's one group that is always over that. There needs to be transparency in a conversation about why that should be. Maybe there is a good reason. Maybe we need more folks doing this particular job or that particular job. But we know the faculty jobs directly touch students, right? Directly. We need support. We need all sorts of support, and that's absolutely important. But when we're talking about budgets, the conversation has to include Where are we spending more and why? Where are we cutting and why? And so those are the questions that I hope that you will have conversations over, and you'll be able to answer. Oh, we want to cut classes because of this reason, not just because we need to balance a budget. We need to cut counseling hours. Why is that? To balance the budget? Is that the driving reason? So again, hard, difficult questions need to be asked by you, of all of us, as we try to work through and make sure that Santa Monica College is the place that students can choose to go to when they want to pursue their educational goals. So I think that's all I want to say for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Scott, does anyone see any questions? Scott?